shimmying down to the right-hand side. You know, we're very thankful for the great training that we have because it makes our job possible. We also repaired a portion of the space station with these tools that were developed by the engineers on the ground. There was a large platform that was stuck on the previous mission. That spaceflight is really a team sport. We have a huge ground team that makes things happen. This is mission control with the folks that we're working with the spacewalk and our Capcoms, who are the folks who communicate with us during spacewalks and during our other portions of the mission. Off of that platform and install it onto the exposed facility. We still had time for socializing. Here's both the space station and space shuttle crew. We're sharing a meal together. And one very interesting thing about zero gravity is that you're really living in a volume instead of living on a force base. So even though we had 13 people in a very small module, it never felt crowded. And also for my new mission, STS-133, are working with a set of satellites that work autonomously together and use algorithms developed by MIT students. Kind of ironic that you can run on a treadmill in space, but you have a bungee cord that attaches onto a harness. Now push-ups are actually very, very simple in space. And we did have a little bit of time to play. Inside this large module, which was a multi-purpose logistics module that went home on 128, I got to play like Spider-Man. How many people get to do this? I think this is one of my favorite things to do. It's also interesting how your body completely adapts to zero gravity. Over the course of 2 months, my neurovestibular system, my balance system basically turned off and was able to do things like this without really being affected by it. We had lots of public relations events, and it was a very international crew. You have Bob Thurst setting up a Canadian flag in the background. And we tried to communicate and encourage people to pursue science and math as much as we could. One of my favorite things to do on the space station was take photographs. This is a picture of Hurricane Bill that was in the Atlantic during our mission. And these pictures really don't convey how beautiful it is to look down the planet, nor how black it is when you look out into space. Picture of Hawaii. I tried to get good pictures of Hawaii, but we always seem to pass when there's cloud cover. But it's a very, very beautiful place. The islands in particular were very, very beautiful. This is where my family and I live, just south of Houston. You can see my house, this little white dot there. Cayman Islands, and like I mentioned before, the islands in particular with the coral reefs were really, really beautiful. Oil fires in Iraq, I was surprised to still see these there. Space shuttle Discovery coming back home, and the last man you just saw was Kevin Ford, and he's the pilot whose main job is to put landing gear down, which I remind him on a frequent basis. Don't forget to put down landing gear. And we had a perfect touchdown out at Edwards Air Force Base. Typically we land in Florida, but because of weather, we landed there instead. There's Kevin putting down the landing gear. And I'm on the mid-deck. You can see in the upper left-hand corner, Daniel Levis, Christopher Bugelsang, and I on the mid-deck. And very happy to be home after a successful mission. The best thing you can hear after the mission is wheel stop, which means that everything's worked out perfectly, your vehicle has come to a stop, and you're back home safe and sound as you return to your family. It's amazing. It's a 17-minute video, but that's... Kelly, if you don't mind coming forward, I'd like to present something to Eureka Finnish Science Center. So as a space shuttle and space station crew member, we have the opportunity to fly things for organizations which we think are very worthy and important, especially to science and technology. And in this case, we flew a Finnish flag and our Expedition 20 patch. So these both flew with us on STS-127. It's an image of this beautiful space station that a huge community has built, along with pictures of the entire STS-127 and Expedition 20 crew. and the spacewalk. Thank you very much. So we have time for some questions. You guys have questions about spaceflight or anything else? Oh, how long was I in space? So I spent 58 days in space, and that included all 3 of those missions. Yes, sir.
When are you going back to space?
Oh, I'm going back to space on the 1st of November. We have an 11-day mission in which we bring up a permanent multi-purpose module, dock that to space station. We have a pallet that we attach on the space station that has spare parts, and then we come home. So in comparison to a couple months in space, it'll be a quick journey. Yes, sir.
Do you get a lot of fan posts from Finland, letters and emails, and do you have time to answer?
So I get lots of letters and emails from Finland. You know, I haven't gotten a lot of personal emails and letters from Finland, but the ones I do get, I try to answer. I'd like to bring my wife up for a second. My wife, Kopra. So we both get to answer questions. In the very back. Yes, ma'am.
Were you scared?
No? Okay. Well, sure. Of course. I mean, we watched him get strapped into a rocket and shot up into the sky. So it's a little nerve-wracking. But once he was there, I felt like he was okay. While he was there, the greatest danger was coming and going. And we enjoyed it. We could watch him on TV.
It was difficult being asleep before the launch or before the spacewalk. How did it feel before this great mission?
Yeah, sleep is actually a very difficult thing. And one of the main reasons it's difficult is because oftentimes we sleep shift as a consequence of what the launch time is. And then once you're on space station, we may shift it so you only have 23-hour days to shift it back to the right time to come home. So it's those sleep interruptions that make it really difficult. In general, it's not that bad, but in terms of sleeping the night before a spacewalk, I was so busy I can't remember if I slept or not because it was a very busy time, the 3rd day in space. Yes, sir.
How many years do you suppose the United States has to depend on the Russian Soyuz rocket as Aries and Orion program were terminated?
Yeah, I think I understand the question. That is, how much do we rely on the Russians
Yes,
for launching into space? Well, actually, until there's an additional space vehicle after the space shuttle, we're completely reliant on Russia, our capability to get to the International Space Station, because the Soyuz will have 2 crews of 3. Both of those Soyuz will be docked on the space station, and that's both our transportation to and our transportation from space station. Yes, sir, in the row.